Today is February the 6th, 2024. This is a random thought. Forgiveness is one of the main roots of evil. It's one of the traps of the devil. It's one of the ways, of the many ways that the devil gets us wrapped up in our ego, gets us wrapped up in selfishness, and gets us wrapped up in his path for our life and not God's path for our life. Think about who you have to become in order to not forgive. Like what type of hatred, what amount, what level of hatred do you have to hold in your heart in order to not forgive? How do you encounter other people when you're in that state of unforgiveness? How do you live your life? How do you, when you look in the mirror in the morning while you're brushing your teeth, are you happy? Probably not if you're in a state of unforgiveness. When you're in a state of unforgiveness, it overrides and it overrules and it takes over. And it sets deep into the depths of your heart, into any and every little crevice that it can take hold of. It sets root, and it's hard to let go of. It's one of the many things that you can water, you can fertilize, and it just takes a long time to come out of it and to uproot the weeds of unforgiveness. If you think of unforgiveness as weeds in a garden, sometimes you may not notice weeds as a weed. Sometimes the weeds come up with the grass and it makes the grass look a little more fuller. And you're actually kind of afraid sometimes to uproot that weed because it may leave a hole or a patch in your grass. Sometimes you may not even recognize that weed as a weed. Sometimes you may not recognize unforgiveness as unforgiveness because we have grown accustomed to just playing the game of charades and making it appear as though we have forgave. We make it appear by knowing the right words to say or knowing the right facial expressions to make, or you know the saying, fake it till you make it. That may be true in some instances, but when it comes to matters of the heart, you can't fake the matters of your heart. Because from the abundance of your heart, your mouth will speak. And so you can't fake and I may have misquoted that, but that's the gist of that scripture. But you can't fake the matters of your heart. You can masquerade it. You can try to mask over it, but it's going to show. Like the matter of your heart, like you can put a fake smile on, but it still appears fake to the outside world. Unless that other person that's looking at you, unless they're in that same state of unforgiveness and in the state of masquerading, in the state of putting on a fake face just to get by, or just because that's the thing to do, or just because, they want to appear as though they are not in that state for whatever reason. And sometimes the reasons can be as small and petty as, there's a phrase I like to use as nice nasty, to make it seem as though we're unbothered, but we're really bothered. But I don't want you to know that I'm unbothered, so I'm going to act like I'm unbothered, but I'm really bothered. So we get so set in that phase and in that state that is common and is expected, actually, to be in a state of unforgiveness and to play the whole charades and the, prim and proper when I'm in your face. But when I turn my back to you, then I'm disgusted. So why not just work on the unforgiveness? Why not just work on the posture of your heart? Why not just work on how you really, honestly, truly feel? When the lights are down, when there's no one laying beside you in the bed, when there's nothing playing on the TV, nothing playing on your phone, no one around, in complete darkness, when it's just you and God, because He's always there. It's just you and God. Work on the matters of your heart. Listen to what your heart is speaking. Listen to what your heart is saying, how you're feeling when you're trying to connect with your heart. And when I'm saying listen, you're not going to hear what your heart is saying. You hear through your feelings when you're dealing with matters of your heart. Your heart speaks through feelings. Your heart speaks through how the feelings that it bring up when you think of a thought. When you think of someone, what's the first feeling that you feel when you think of that person? Well, that's how your heart feels about that person. If the thought of that person makes you smile, then that's how your heart feels about that person. That's your heart posture towards that person. If you immediately want to frown or, make that noise, then that's your heart's posture towards that person. So, what is your heart saying to you? What is your heart saying to you about you even? Because if you stay in a state of unforgiveness, then that makes me question, what is your heart's posture towards yourself? Oftentimes, when we are in a state of unforgiveness, then we have some things that we have to root up about our own self. And the person that we're not forgiving may have some personality features that's similar to our own, and that may be why we don't like them. Because, like the saying go, game recognize game. So I see you, and I can one up you. And we gonna have this silent competition of one-upness to see who can beat in the one-up drill. So what is your heart saying to you about you? So, in short, listen to your heart. Pay attention to your heart's posture. Pay attention to your level of unforgiveness. You don't want to turn into a cold stone because you refuse because you refuse to forgive. When I think of refusing to unforgive, and I can say this because I have gone through this myself. And oftentimes when I think that I have forgiven, when I think of that person again, then I may not have the most happiest rainbows and Jolly Rancher thoughts about that person. So that lets me know that I still have some work to do. So I'm not saying that it's a one and done situation. Unforgiveness is an ongoing situation that you have to constantly guard your heart. You have to constantly pay attention to what your heart is saying to you. But what I was going to say is, when I think of unforgiveness, what I think of is someone being constipated. Like, think about how much you miss out on if you're constipated, which I know that that's a unpleasant analogy to think of, but unforgiveness is an unpleasant situation. So when you're constipated, your stomach is constantly hurting. Like, you can't even do the simplest thing, do the most naturalist thing, as use the restroom and expel things that should naturally expel out of your body on a daily basis. And I think of that as like love. Like when you're constipated with unforgiveness, you can't do the most natural thing as love. You can't love. Like, the two opposing feelings or thoughts cannot exist at the same time. You can't love and unforgive at the same time. You will naturally pick one. One will naturally overpower the other. So that's the matter of what is your cup the most full of. That's the thing that's going to override the other. And so, is your cup full of majority of love, or is your cup full of majority unforgiveness? Don't clog your heart up with unforgiveness. Don't stay constipated with unforgiveness. Don't let your grass or your lawn be filled with the weeds of unforgiveness. Root the weeds up. Get a little Miralax in your system, which is love. Love will clear it all out. And just try to start your day. Try to check in the middle of your day. Before you go to sleep especially, try to check and see what were your weak areas. And I'm not saying that we're supposed to walk around in la la land. We are living in a real world, so you do have to, guard against other things. But one of the main things, one of the strongest things, one of the hardest barriers to break that Satan has filled our hearts with. And I'm going to retract that statement. He didn't fill our hearts, because he can't fill our hearts with anything. He has tricked us to fill our own hearts with that. So that's one of the biggest tricks of the enemy, is to settle and rest and be merry in the state of unforgiveness.